Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Lazier, and today I'm going to be presenting to you one of my favorite games of all time. It is known as Metro 2033 and was released March 16th, 2010 for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. It was developed by THQ and Deep Silver Publishers, and it was based off of a Russian author's novel of the same title by Dmitry Glukhovsky. Sorry, I don't know how to speak Russian. But the footage you're going to be watching is from the PS4 version, which was remastered in August 26, 2014. But some of the things I just wanted to talk about this game, like give some backstory real quick, is the game follows the main protagonist, Artyom, who is a guy who has been living in the subway system underneath Russia for his entire life. Because in the mid-2010s, global epidemic happens when a nuclear warhead lands on Russia and sends the world into chaos. So ever since then, people have been living underground, and there are all these mutated creatures, like the one you see right now, and all these ugly beasts and stuff that roam the earth, so they feel the need to hide in the subways. But the subways are also not as safe as they hoped it would be, because they're filled with large groups of bandits and raiders. But predominantly it is a battle between the red communists versus the Nazis in the battle of for the subway system. So starting off, I just want to talk really quick about the mechanics of the game. Personally, for me, I think this is one of the most impressively made games. And the reason that I think that is, as you be able to see here shortly, is and the way that I have to interact to get across this door is I have to manually break it down. Usually that's not an aspect you would see in many first-person shooters. You normally just tap a button to open it. But some of the other mechanics that I think are really interesting is that I'll get to here momentarily, but I really think, just as you can see as I'm fighting off this creature, that just the sense of how fights are done. You know, most first-person shooters, you kind of are behind cover and peep out, but in this game, you're right in the action. So, for starters, right now you can see the main menu of my weapon wheel, and then I have 4 different types of throwables that I can have, and also 3 different types of rifles. And that's a main aspect to the game, because each thing can be used in a different situation, such as for stealth, I just threw a Molotov to try and fight off this demon. And I'm currently using a 6-cylinder shotgun as well. I am playing on one of the harder difficulties, so that's why it takes so many bullets for these things to go down. But right here is actually one of my other favorite mechanics, which is just gives a level of realism, is that you get to wipe off the gas mask you get to wear. Earlier you might have mentioned it, or you might have seen it, as I mean, that there was I had to replace the air filter on my gas mask, and I think that's a really impressive feature. And then also you can see that right now that I have my flashlight on, and that it also has different modes of which I can use the light in the game, because you do carry around a small little generator in which you use to maintain different power sources you have. So I have a flashlight, night vision goggles, and as you can see, a small lighter. And so they have different levels in which they deplete the energy bar. So I think that's really cool too. Another mechanic is what you're seeing right now, which is the fact that the game always stays in Artyom's view. This is an interactive cutscene. There's nothing I can really do right here as I'm getting attacked by this thing. But it was just, I went to interact with this dead guy's body to try and loot him, and I got attacked. But the game didn't cut away, and instead it keeps you in the action by still keeping you in Artyom's perspective. So I think that's a really cool way to go about it. And with that being said, I think I want to lead into the aesthetics of this game and what exactly make it so good. So I might have said this earlier, but this game is clearly a survival horror first-person shooter, and it just flows very well in terms of how it's done and the aesthetics around it that help give off that vibe. So as of right now, as you can see, my small flashlight was barely lighting up that hallway. So that just gives sort of a vibe of just how dark and gruesome this world can be, and the splatter of blood on the screen when you die in situations like that. So I just think that does a really good job, and I also think, even though this is a remaster of an older game, I think the visuals hold up fairly well. Everything kind of has a broken, grimy, sort of end-of-the-world look to it, and that really obviously is the point of the game. And I think that plays a central role. Like, even how bright the fire is, I think works for the benefit of this game, since, you know, fire can both be helpful and destructive. Like, you can see that the environment's a little brighter as it's on fire, but it's also sort of damaging me and the enemy right now. And with that being said, that'll lead me into the final section, which is the sound design of this game. There's very limited music, and all of the sound effects are very heightened, like such as the noise of as I'm reloading the shotgun, and that really plays into the horror aspect. If you haven't played this game, I highly recommend that you give it a try. It's one of my all-time favorites.